Hey, what's up there, YouTubers and those who may be watching this on Facebook? It's me, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back with a My Two Set video for this week, for the week of September 15th to the 21st, and I am back from a 2 weeks hiatus or so, mostly because I was on vacation, particularly in Europe through Poland and Germany. Enjoyed the trip and all that stuff. Saw a lot of World War II and Cold War stuff, indeed. So there was a lot of stuff to see over there. Plus that and getting over the jet lag and fighting off a cold. So part of me, if I cough a little bit or if my voice doesn't sound 100% perfect or anything like that. But either case, I am back from my trip and I'm looking forward to putting out some more videos and content out there. And we have 8 stories to cover for this week. Before we get started on that, let's do a quick My Two Cent. I may not be able to cover everything from the 2 weeks I was off, but I did find stuff that I thought was interesting and all that stuff. Obviously, the first one is that we had a Nintendo Direct on September 4th. And I will say the Direct, overall, it was alright. It wasn't as good as, say, the E3 one that happened at E3 2019, though. But there were some good announcements and all that stuff. The two that stuck out for me the most was that they are porting over Tokyo Mirage Session to the Nintendo Switch, which is good. Hopefully, this will have all the content, including the DLC that never saw the light of day over here in the West. Hopefully maybe they will ease up on some of the censorship and all that stuff. With that game, a lot of people are not happy with Nintendo censoring certain things and all that stuff. And hopefully the game does fare a bit better this time on the Nintendo Switch, considering that the Switch has a higher user base than it did on the Wii U. And of course, we learned that a remake of the first Xenoblade Chronicles is happening to the Nintendo Switch, which honestly, I am glad that they are remaking that game, though. Hopefully, it does well enough that it convinces Monolith Soft or whoever is handling the remake to convince them to maybe, I don't know, port over Xenoblade Chronicle X over to the Nintendo Switch. That would be great. And I would love to see, say, The Last Story and Pandora's Tower get a remake treatment, and those come over to the Nintendo Switch as well. They were originally part of the whole Operation Rainfall and all that stuff. So those were probably the 2 highlights for me in regards of the Nintendo Direct. We also had the NPD charts that came out, and apparently both Astro Chains and Fire Emblem Three Houses did very well. I believe Astro Chain hit at, I think was at number 10. I'm not 100% sure, but I'll have to take a look at that. And I think Fire Emblem Three Houses was, I think, possibly at number 3 or number 4. I'm not 100% sure about that. But in either case, good that those games did very well. Surprised to see Astro Chain hit, I think, the top 10 on the NPD charts, despite, I think, being released a little bit late in August. Nevertheless, it's great that Platinum game is doing very well. Not to mention, I think in the UK, I think it was at number 1 at one point, though. Here's to hoping we see more of Astro Chain, maybe a sequel, and who knows, maybe they'll do an anime or manga or anything like that. We also learned that Star Ocean R First Departure, originally a PSP game, is now actually, there are now plans to bring it to the West, I believe on December 5th. No word yet at this time about a physical version. I am hoping for a physical version, indeed. We also learned, and this just broke recently, that Final Fantasy 8 and 9 released on the Nintendo eShop will be getting a physical version, though it will only be released in Asia. That said, I assume they will have an English version, and basically, though, being that the Switch is region free, I'm sure people will import that game as well. They're saying that it's going to be in one game cartridge, so if you're looking for a physical version, you might want to consider keeping an eye out on that one. We also learned that the creator of Nier Automotive is saying if you want to see a Switch port, you're going to have to ask Square Enix, though. Personally, in my opinion, I would like to see Nier Automata come to the Nintendo Switch, considering the fact that one of the producers and one of the folks who worked on Nier Automata did Astro Chain. So honestly, Square Enix, I would love to see you bring Nier Automata over to the Nintendo Switch. And last but not least, though, we learned that BioWare is ditching basically their original roadmap for Anthem, and are basically starting to work on focus on the core issues and fix a lot of the things that have plagued the game. While that's great that they're fixing a lot of issues, I wonder if it's basically too little too late at this time. I personally think the game's dead. I can't see this recovering. Anthem had a rough start when it launched, and then the whole issue with the Kotaku article by Jason Strider about the whole crunch time and all that stuff, I think that just... personally, I think the game's dead. I really can't see this recover. I think they're moving on to Dragon Age 4, and hearing that reports are coming out that it's going to be like a live service. Yeah, I don't have a lot of faith on that one. Alright, with those quick my 2 cent part out of the way, we'll get started with our first part, and this one has to do with reports coming out of details of the announcement from the Tokyo Game Show of Fairy Tail, based on the popular manga and anime being published by Koei Tecmo and being developed by Gust. When it comes to anime games, though, they could be kind of a hit and miss, though. There are some good ones out there, to be exact. I've enjoyed the One Piece, particularly the One Piece Unlimited Red and Pirate Warrior. We know we're getting Pirate Warrior 4, and that's coming to the Nintendo Switch. Even though I'm not a huge One Piece fan, to the recent Sword Art Online, we've gotten Hollow Realization and Fatal Bullet has recently come out, and I've enjoyed those games, to be exact. And while I may not be a huge Fairy Tail person, though, it is nice to see that not only is it coming to the PS4 and PC, but it's also coming to the Nintendo Switch as well. Plus, we have some more details that came from the Tokyo Game Show. From an article on Nintendo Everything, again, links will be in the description of this video, it says, quote, "During a live stream at the Tokyo Game Show, Koei Tecmo and Gust shared information about the new Fairy Tail RPG for the Switch." Again, it's coming to the PS4 and PC, if I remember hearing that correctly. And the roundup from the live stream is, "After much deliberation, RPG would fit Fairy Tail better than action," which, I mean, again, I don't have a problem with that. I think an RPG would be a nice approach, although I wouldn't mind I wouldn't have an issue if they did it like a Warriors approach. I mean, I wouldn't be against that, but I'm not against an RPG approach either. Because of this, they went with Gust to make the game, since they have done certain RPGs before. Experience the hype story, dream contest among popular mags, guilds grow together with friends, intense magic battles, game original side stories that delve deeper into characters. It starts from the middle of work because it's been ongoing for 10 years. Oh yeah, I mean, the series has been around for a while. I think it's recently on its final season or something like that. The first 5 playable characters confirmed: Nastu, Nastsu, Gary, Gray, Lucy, Erez, Erza, and Wendy. It'll be interesting if other characters make an appearance in it, whether it's through further in the game or if we see it through like a DLC or something like that. That remains to be seen. The total playable roster in Fairy Tail RPG will be over 10 characters. Expand the guilds by taking on quest and going out on expeditions. Expeditions. Apologize if I'm not saying the name correctly. Mongolia Town, where the guild is located in Fairy Tail, will also be reproduced in the RPG. Mode change available in battle. Support characters support with powerful magic. And last but not least, they said that new stream from the game planned for October. So we'll probably get more information from this. Again, like I said, I'm not the biggest anime fan or anything like that out there or anything like that, but it is something I am willing to try. I mean, like I said, I enjoyed the One Piece ones and the Sword Art Online, and this is definitely one I will certainly keep an eye out, though. And who knows, maybe it will get me interested into the fairy tales series and so forth. So it's very interesting that they're decided to go with the RPG route, not like a warrior style approach. Again, I'm not saying that's a bad thing or anything like that, but it is sort of interesting that they decided to take that approach, even though I wouldn't be against the idea of a warrior's approach. I am curious to see, like I said before, about other characters that will be in the game. Will there be, and will we see them in the game or anything like that? Or will they be available via, like, say, a DLC? And could we see, say, something like a crossover? Like, I know the person who created Fairy Tales also created Rave Master. Could we see those characters make an appearance in this game or anything like that? So, it remains to be seen. But overall, it's nice that another RPG is coming over, not only to PS4 or Xbox One, but of course to the Nintendo Switch. And while I'm not the biggest Fairy Tail fan out there, I am looking forward to this one. I will try it out when the game does come out. I believe it will be out next year, I think in 2020 though. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 2, and this one has to do with more Dragon Quest games are basically coming to the Nintendo Switch. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of our My True Set video, and for this one, we're going to be taking a look at the surprise announcement that more Dragon Quest games will be coming to the Nintendo Switch. And what I mean by more Dragon Quest games, I'm talking about, right now it seems ports of older Dragon Quest games are going to be coming to the Nintendo Switch. Now, as we all know, this month, I believe, we'll be looking forward to the release of Dragon Quest XI S, an enhanced version of last year's Dragon Quest XI that was released on the PS4. And recently, they did release a demo on it on Nintendo Switch, and honestly, I've been enjoying the game a lot. I've been playing it also, like I said, when I was in my trip to Europe. I've been playing it on the Nintendo Switch there, and I'm starting to more like the game and all. It's classic, like RPG and so forth, so it's definitely one of the games I'm looking forward to playing when it comes out. I believe September 27th is the launch date. I'm not 100% sure. Well, apparently that may not be the only Dragon Quest games that are going to be coming to the Nintendo Switch, as we now learned that Square Enix is going to bring over the original Dragon Quest 1, 2, and 3, and they're going to be coming to the Nintendo Switch. On top of that, a physical version is in the work, mostly for the Asian territory and so forth, but being the Switch being region-free, you can obviously import it though. First off, from an article from GameSpot, it reads that, quote, Dragon Quest XI is coming to the Nintendo Switch later this month with an enhanced port that packs some new bells and whistles, including an original retro visual style, though, which unfortunately that's not available in the demo version and all, which is kind of a bummer though. But if you want to go even more old school than that, Square Enix has announced on that same day will bring the original 3 Dragon Quest games for sale on the Nintendo eShop as well. The company announced that all 3 games will be available on September 27th, the same day as Dragon Quest XI S. The eShop also lists all 3 games for sale now: Dragon Quest II, Lumineers of the Legend line, and Dragon Quest III, The Seeds of Salvation. The price will be at $5, $6.50, and $12.50 retrospectively. And from a tweet from the Dragon Quest Twitter account, it reads, quote, find out where it all begins. The first 3 Dragon Quest games are coming to North America, and for the first time on consoles in Europe on Nintendo Switch. You can start with any of the 3 games, so get ready for Classic Adventure from September 27th. However, and this is what they also point out though, However, you should know that these don't appear to be the direct port of the original NES Classic. Instead, the screenshots and text style look similar to the mobile port put on ISO and Android. So that, depending on your point of view, that may either be a big deal or not a big deal. Some people would like to prefer the old NES style and so forth. Some people may not have a problem with the mobile version and all that stuff. Based on what I've seen of the screenshots of the mobile version, I don't really see a huge issue with it, but again, that's me. I'm sure other people may have a different view on that. However, if you prefer a physical version instead of the digital version, apparently a physical version is happening though. From an article on Destructoid, it reads, quote, during the Nintendo Direct, I believe, this was when the Direct happened, this was in Japan, it reads, on the other night, Square Enix announced it would bring re-release of Dragon Quest 1, 2, 3 to the console in Japan. While it's unlikely that the West won't get them, which, since this article was printed on the 6th, obviously we know that's true, though, there hasn't been any confirmation of their existence. Thankfully, if you don't want to wait or the ports don't show up, the Asian release of the trio will have an English option available. Sweetening the deal, Asia will also be getting a physical release of the 3 games. All 3 games will be included on a single cartridge. Good. I hate that whole only one part of the game's there and you have to download the rest though. We saw that with Final Fantasy X and X2 here in the West though, but in Japan they had both games in one cartridge, with English, Korea, and traditional Chinese language option in tow. The digital version are planned for release on September 22nd, 2019, but the physical version is simply listed as 2019 on Square Enix Asian Facebook page, which that's kind of interesting because if you go over to Play Asia right now, it does point out though that they have a expected ship date of October 2019. So while that could be just a placeholder and all that stuff, it is a possibility, though, that could be the release date. And in case you're wondering what the price is, right now Play Asia has the game listed at $39.99 US. Obviously, that means it's probably going to be $40 to be exact. So, if you're thinking about getting the physical version, though, it is possible you're going to have to wait a little bit longer for that one, though, as they're saying October 2019. Again, like I said, that could be just nothing more than a placeholder, so we'll have to wait and see until we hear official confirmation. The fact that they're bringing the original 3 is definitely nice. I'm glad that Square Enix is doing that and all that stuff. We'll see if they'll port over like other Dragon Quest games down the road. Maybe we'll see like Curse of the Journey King. Maybe that will be ported over to the Switch. I know that got ported over to the 3DS, but I would like to see it come to the Nintendo Switch and all. And maybe we'll see future Dragon Quest games make their way over to the Nintendo Switch. Definitely would be open to that as it happens. The fact that the 1, 2, and 3 are based off the mobile and not the original NES version, again, that's going to depend on your perspective on it. Personally, I'm not losing sleep over it, but I can understand how some people would prefer the original look and so forth. But we'll have to wait and see. So overall, great that we're getting more Dragon Quest games. Great that they're coming to the Nintendo Switch, though. Yes, it is a little unfortunate that the physical version is not going to be sold here in the West. It's going to be only sold in Asia and all that stuff. But being that the Switch is region free and that there is an English option available, not a huge loss or anything like that. And if you don't mind importing the game, especially from Play Asia or so forth, then not really losing complete sleep over it. So overall, great that we're getting more Dragon Quest games, though. I would be open to see more, remakes of some of the older games or future entries coming over to the Nintendo Switch. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 3. And this one has to do with a rumor going around that A port of the game Alan Wake could make its way over to the it could be making its way over to the Nintendo Switch. So we'll take a quick break and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 3 of our My True Set video, and this one has to do with a rumor going around that a possibility of a port of Remedy's, believe it was a Xbox 360 game, I think a while back, it might have been, though I'm not 100% sure, of Alan Wake could be making its way not only to the PS4, but also to the Nintendo Switch. Now, for Switch owners, if you've heard of the name Virtues, if I'm saying the name correctly though, they have been known as a port house, and they have ported over several games. Games like LA Noire, Starlink, Final Fantasy X and X2, Final Fantasy 12, the Zodiac Age, and so forth. And recently we learned that those guys are also porting over, that is also going to be released on the PS4 and Xbox One, is a port of the Outer Worlds from the original creators of the Fallout series, though, which is pretty impressive that game's going to be coming over to the Nintendo Switch. Well, it seems as though they may be working on another game, and this is a port of a game from Remedy that just recently released their newest game, Control, for the PS4 and Xbox One, although I heard there's some issues, like it doesn't run well and all that stuff. I haven't played it, so I don't know 100% sure if that is true or not. It didn't hit the sales charts or anything like that. But either way, I mean, I'll still keep an eye on it, though. But apparently it seems as though that they could be having Virtues work on a port of Alan Wake. From an article from GamePur, GAMEPUR, it reads that Alan Wake Remaster could be coming to PS4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch. The article reads, though, Alan Wake could get a remastered very soon, according to a new rumor that is spreading its wings on the internet over the last few hours. The rumors come from a video from YouTuber Drake81 and has acquired certain popularity on Reset Era forums. It's based on a linking page of a Virtuous staff member who claims to be working on a remake of a 3A personal action adventure game. Virtuous already has a history of working with Remedy, as they cooperated on the release of Quantum Break for PC and Xbox One a few years ago. The remaster is claimed to be released at a certain point on PS4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch, which will make it the first time that Alan Wake is playable on the move. It's not clear what kind of work could be done to the game outside of an upscale and some tweak as we're used to, although the Switch version could be a simple port. Speculation about a remaster has been all over the place for Alan Wake since the days when Remedy acquired the IP back from Microsoft, now having the freedom to do whatever they want to do with it, though. It's also clear the studio is willing to work again on the franchise, as noted by creative director Sam Lake, even though things are a bit more difficult for a prosperous sequel. Could the remaster might help things get easier, or at least from a financial standpoint? Now, it is worth pointing out that Drake81, the YouTuber who has at least certainly a lot of information on the Nintendo Switch, I mean, as far as he goes, some of his information, he has a good history, though, although not every game that he's put out has come to fruition. Like, for example, there were rumors about Rig Racer possibly coming over and being a Switch exclusive, but so far nothing has materialized out of that, though. And the fact that Remedy got the rights back to their IP, Alan Wake, kind of sounds very similar to the whole situation with Techland, which recently got the rights, I believe, the rights back to their own game called Juarez, if I'm saying the name correctly, from Ubisoft, and there are rumors of that game coming to the Nintendo Switch and all. Either way, though, assuming this rumor is true, though, I welcome Alan Wake coming to the Nintendo Switch. Again, I never owned an Xbox 360 or anything like that, so I don't know how the game plays or anything like that. But I do welcome the game coming to the Nintendo Switch, nevertheless, if these rumors are true, though. And who knows, if the game does well, if the game does sell well enough, though, maybe that might convince Remedy to consider the idea of perhaps maybe doing a sequel, to be exact. And if a sequel were to happen, if that were to happen, that is, so I hope it also comes to the Nintendo Switch as well. So overall, I would have to say, again, it's an interesting rumor. Right now, we don't have official confirmation at this time, so we'll have to wait to see what Remedy has to say, although Remedy hasn't made any comments in regard to this rumor or anything like that. But certainly, I am not against the idea of Alan Wake coming to the Nintendo Switch, or if you own a PS4 or Xbox One, I'm sure you're not against the idea of a remake of that game coming to that system either. But being a more of a Nintendo fan, I certainly have no problems with Alan Wake coming to the Nintendo Switch at all. Hell, I wouldn't have a problem if they brought Control over to the Nintendo Switch, assuming they could get it done and all that stuff, assuming it's possible they could port it over, optimize and compress it and all that stuff. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 4, and this one has to do with, apparently, along with the purchase of Insomniac Games from Sony, though, apparently they got the rights to one of Microsoft's games that originally they had the rights of, and that is the game of Sunset Overdrive, and the possibility of whether we'll see that franchise see the light of day again. So, we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 4 of our My 2 Cent video for this week. And for this one, we're going to be taking a look at the interesting announcement that Sony now has gotten the rights to Sunset Overdrive, a game developed by Insomniac Games that was originally released on the Xbox One and was originally considered a Microsoft IP, but now apparently it seems as though it's now owned by Insomniac and now Sony as well. Now, last month, I'm sure most of you have heard of that Insomniac Games got purchased by Sony, though, which I will say, in my opinion, I'm not really surprised by this in any way. When you look at Insomniac Games' portfolio as far as games go, in terms of what they have released, a majority of their games have pretty much been released on the PlayStation system, PS2, PS3, and the PS4. Outside of maybe a couple games like Sunset Overdrive, some VRs, and Song of the Deep that was released on both the Xbox One and the PS4, a majority of their games have been mostly on the PlayStation system. So the fact that they got purchased by them certainly isn't purchased by Sony isn't really that surprising or anything like that. Not to mention, obviously, Spider-Man doing very well from them obviously helped really add more to the reason why Sony purchased Insomniac Games. Well, one of the interesting things that just came out that we've learned is that not only was Insomniac Games, not only does Sony own them, but now they own the right for Sunset Overdrive. But it doesn't sound like that game's going to be a priority, at least for Sony, for the moment. In an article from comicbook.com, it reads, quote, PlayStation confirms that it now owns former Xbox One exclusive series. Last month, Sony Interactive Entertainment acquired Insomniac Game, the team best known for the Ratchet & Clank and Marvel Spider-Man, but the team has also made plenty of other games over the years, including Sunset Overdrive, which was published by Microsoft as an Xbox One exclusive in 2014. That says, Insomniac Games retains the rights to the franchise, so when Sony acquired the developers, it got its IP, which includes Sunset Overdrive. In other words, Sony now owns a former Xbox One exclusive series. At the time, this detail was a bit unclear, but PlayStation has now confirmed this is indeed the case. The confirmation comes from a new interview between Japanese outlet Inside Games and the PlayStation boss. However, unfortunately, no further details were disclosed. In other words, we have no clue if PlayStation will re-release the game on the PS4. That said, we do know that thanks to a recent interview with PlayStation head honcho Sean Layden, Layden, that the series isn't really on the minds of Sony, at least at the moment. This was a great experience for Insomniac, and they learned a lot through that as well, said Layden at the time. As far as the IP itself, we really haven't turned over the files on that one to see what actually means, to be honest. We like what they've been doing in the Spider-Man franchise and things like Ratchet and Clank and certainly VITAL series in the past and present. That's what we're concentrating on. Again, who knows what the future of Sunset Overdrive holds, but it sounds like there won't be a sequel anytime soon. That said, I wouldn't be surprised if the game was ported to the PS4 and maybe a Insomniac game will inject some new content into the game for PS4 users. I mean, it seems like an easy enough port. It won't make bajillions, but it would probably turn a neat profit. So it's great that obviously Insomniac got the rights of it though, which means now Sony owns the rights and all that stuff. But it is a little unfortunate that it doesn't sound like they are going to basically focus on the game or anything like that anytime soon, as it seems as though that, for what I understand, they are supposedly be working on the sequel to 2018 Spider-Man, which obviously based on the sales number, it did very well, and obviously I can see why they're focusing on that one. Still, I think it is kind of a missed opportunity of why not give the series another chance. Why not, port it over to the PS4 or, in another case, the PS5 or anything like that, and maybe, look at some areas, maybe improve some areas, add some stuff that maybe was cut out, and give the series another chance. I think it would be nice to see this game perhaps get another shot or anything like that. Hell, I would love to see Sony bring back other Insomniac games. I would love to see maybe a Resistance trilogy come over to the PS4 or PS5, or a brand new entry in that. Certainly another entry in Ratchet and Clank would be nice. Hell, I would like Sony to bring back the Jak and Daxter series, Sly Cooper, and why not Ape Escape, and Dark Cloud as well. I mean, so there are a lot of games Sony's could work to bring back for, not only the PS4, but for the eventual release of the PlayStation 5, though. So it's interesting that we now know that they got the rights back, but it is a little unfortunate that it's not their main focus right now. So overall, it's nice to see Insomniac get the rights back, which, like I said earlier, now Sony owns it though. A little disappointed that it's not a main focus at this time. Hopefully at some point down the road they'll get another shot, whether it's a remake of the first one or if they ever decide to do a sequel or anything like that. So we'll have to wait and see what the future holds for Sunset Overdrive. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 5, and this one has to do with a bit of a controversy, supposedly a controversy, surrounding Daemon X Machina in regards of the whole YouTube and copyright issue. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 5 of our My True Scent video, and for this one, we're going to cover the controversy that's kind of surrounding the whole situation in regards of with Daemon X Machina and basically the whole situation with YouTube and so forth. Now, one of the games that was revealed last year at E3 2018 that they showed off was a new IP, supposedly, of a game called Daemon X Machina, developed by Aulx Studio. Supposedly, it was sort of like it was basically made up, I think, of former members who worked on the game, the Armor Core series, and so forth. Now, I've played the demo when it was the prototype demo when it originally came out, and I recently got a chance to try out the demo, the new demo that they put out, which if you complete that one or any progress you make on that one, you could transfer that over to the main game if you were to purchase it, though. And while the prototype demo showed some promise, though, it looked like there were certainly some areas they could make some improvements on. The demo that just came out definitely was a major improvement, and I've had fun with the game. I played it when I was on my trip to Europe, to recently at home, and so forth. And so it is definitely a title I am looking forward to trying out. I mean, it's no Fire Emblem Three Houses or Astral Chain or anything like that, but I'm still looking forward to it. Nevertheless, however, not everyone, or particularly not every YouTuber, is pleased with the situation in regards to Daemon X Machina. This has to do with the fact that recently Marvelous, although now it's been clear that Marvelous Japan's doing this, is that they are contenting IDing videos of Daemon X Machina, and not all YouTubers are happy about it. Some have gone as far as to boycott and not show any footage of it or not do any reviews of the game at all. First off, from an article on Reset, or from a post on Reset Era, it reads, quote, Marvelous Inc. is copyright claiming Daemon X Machina review. Digital Foundry won't cover it. The first one is, the claim comes from a Twitter post from Andre from Game Explain. He writes, quote, do you want us to cover your game or not, Marvelous? And apparently it reads that Marvelous Europe responds, which they explain they are not publishers of the game in the West, and that the claim comes from Marvelous Japan, the Japanese publisher. And according to this one, Marvelous Games responded to the comment from Andre, I believe from Game Explain, saying these content ID claims are issued by Marvelous Inc. in Japan for Daemon X Machina, which is published by Nintendo. Ad revenue support must be disabled for the video. The content ID claims received impose that rule. The person also who wrote this post on Reset Era writes that, quote, this goes against fair use as reviews are protected by this, and seems likely because of this game will not be covered by Digital Foundry. Andre responded, well, this is a bad policy. It undermines the concept of fair use in educational content. Another person, John Linerman, writes, yeah, it's a real shame. Had considered covering the game on Digital Foundry, but this just means it isn't worth our time. It is impossible for the channel to survive without policies like this. And the person also concluded on this post on Reset Area saying, Nintendo had nothing to do with this situation. It's Marvelous Inc. who are making the claims. So if it turns out, and Marvelous also responded to, I think, Digital Foundry's comment by saying, quote, reaching out to Nintendo, who are a publisher, may help as they use to whitelist outlets, but as a FYI for the games we, Marvelous Europe, publish, we do not have restrictions, exception for Fate Extella Link, which has a story restriction at the request of the IP holder. So and they're not seem to be the only ones, though. OJ from Player Essence has had some of the stuff, content ID as well. So, and Marvelous has also responded by claiming that, quote, we are, however, working with Marvelous Inc. to improve the policy for Daemon X Machina as we get tagged in the feedback, but the Japanese channels are Marvelous CS and DMX Info. And also claiming that it is Marvelous, and they're responding to another person who's writing, I'm aware that it's you guys claiming every video, but they're saying, Marvelous Games saying, it is Marvelous Inc. in Japan that are issuing the claims, but the claims only disable revenue, everything else is unaffected. We are Marvelous Europe Limited, a UK-based Europe game publisher, so the whole situation kind of looks like it's gone back and forth on it, though. If this is true, and Marvelous Inc. is copywriting these videos, or if it's the claims that Marvelous Japan doing it though. I understand why why YouTubers would be upset about this though. I understand it's Marvelous game, it's their IP and all that stuff, but I also don't agree with their decision to do this though. Whether you like it or not, some may argue that some of these YouTubers may act like they're entitled or spoiled or anything like that, but there are those who do make this as a living. I mean, there are those who do YouTube as a certain living, and when this sort of affects their ad revenue and so forth, then yeah, I mean, I can understand why they are upset, and I do understand the argument for a lot of these people a lot of these companies don't realize that this is, in a way, free advertisement for them to sort of advertise this game to reach out to an audience who want to play and try out your game and so forth. So I do think it's a little ridiculous to what Marvelous, or in this case Marvelous Japan, if the allegations are pointed straight to them, is true though. I do think it is a bit ridiculous though. Now, whether or not this will have a major impact on the game or not remains to be seen. We do know that in the UK, when the game came out, I believe it entered in at number 19 or anything like that, not high on the charts. However, in Japan though, at least according to Nintendo Life, they're reporting from the Japanese charts for the figures for October 9th to the 15th, Daemon X Machina entered in at number 4 on the top 10 on the Japanese chart. So it doesn't seem like the controversy had, well, at least in Japan, it doesn't seem like it had any impact on the game, at least in Japan or anything like that. So it's unclear how big of an impact this will have on the game itself. Will it have any impact on the game when we get the NPD charts to see how well it does there, or may not have any at all. So we'll have to wait and see. One thing for certain is that if the game flops, if it doesn't perform well, or if the game doesn't perform well here in the US, you could be sure that there will be YouTubers out there that will make the claim, because Marvelous Inc. decided to content ID a lot of these YouTube videos though, that's one of the reasons why the game failed and all that stuff. So we'll have to wait and see how this whole plays out. Personally, I think it's a dumb decision on Marvelous Japan's case to do this though, because I think they're missing out on the possibility that this is free advertisement on their part. One last thing though, I'm not sure if any YouTuber is going to take this matter to court or anything like that. I've heard how Angry Joe would take Nintendo to court over them content and IDing their video, because I think the concern is that if this goes to court and they lose, that could have a ramification on other YouTubers as well. So I'm not sure if anybody is going to take this take Marvelous Japan to court over this or anything like that. So I personally don't think it's going to happen, but who knows. But overall, I'm still going to review the game. I'm still going to play it and all that stuff. But I do think it's a dumb decision on Marvelous's part, though. I think they are missing. I think not only them, but other companies that pull this as well. You're missing out on what potentially is free advertisement, though. So I do think it is kind of ridiculous what Marvelous Inc. or Marvelous in Japan is doing. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 6. Oh, wait, okay, there we go. Part 6, and this one has to do with a rumor going around that we could see 2 different versions of a PS5 when that launches. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 6. Oh, there we go. Part 6 of our My 2 Cent video, and for this one, we're going to be taking a look at a interesting rumor that has popped up in regards of the PlayStation 5 and the possibility of 2 models being released simultaneously, though. Now, as we enter next year and so forth, it's obviously clear that next year we're going to see the launch of two new systems. So obviously Microsoft will be launching the Xbox Scarlet, and although not 100% confirmed, it's more than likely Sony is going to release the PlayStation 5. It's going to be really interesting to see what kind of position both Sony and Microsoft will be in. Will Microsoft have learned their lesson with the Xbox One and have Xbox Scarlet become a success, just like how Nintendo somewhat, to a certain degree, learned their lessons with the Wii U, and with the launch and with the Nintendo Switch out has proven to be very successful for them? Or will Sony be able to remain at the top with the PS5, or will they stumble out of the gate and fall from the top, though? So it remains to be seen what the situation is going to be, but we're going to have to wait and see. Perhaps next year we'll find out for certain. But an interesting rumor has started coming around that Sony might be releasing two different versions of the PS5 next year when the system supposedly is supposed to launch. From an article from Game Radar, it reads that, quote, PS5 Pro could launch alongside PS5 according to this rumor. The aim is for the PS5 and PS5 Pro to be released simultaneously. Their article reads, quote, a fast-spreading rumor asserts that PS5 Pro will launch at the same time as the PS5, and though it should be taken with a grain of salt, it may not be all that far-fetched. The rumor apparently started at this year's Computer Entertainment Development Conference in Yokohama, Japan, which was attended by journalists, though, and this journalist happened to explain some of the stuff while live streaming Assassin's Creed Odyssey, though. This journalist said it was a rumor he wasn't able to discuss on Backspace.fm, the tech podcast he co-hosts, but he still got on to share a few details. Somehow, at the venue of this year's CEDEC, the rumors that were flowing were quite interesting. This journalist said. Note that the article also points out that he used YouTube's automatic translation feature, and all that stuff. Okay, anyway, what this person is saying is that, note that when the PS4 came out, the only difference between the models was their storage capability. Then PS4 Pro launched 3 years later and broadened the PS4 family tree into two main branches, and the market responded well. Other products like the iPhone have proven that consumers can embrace multiple versions on the same basic product at launch. The timing from the beginning, the aim is for PS5 and PS5 Pro to be released simultaneously, this journalist said, citing rumors that were circulating at the conference. The big question, aside from whether those rumors are accurate, is how the PS5 Pro specs will be different to a standard PS5 at launch. Unfortunately, this person didn't explain much on that subject. What we know about the PS5 so far is that it will have a solid-state drive to cut loading time, and that it will likely support up to 8K graphics with ray tracing support from the beginning. That sounds really good aside, so what will the PS5 Pro do on top of that to establish itself as the top-of-the-line PlayStation experience, though? The person who wrote this article wrote, I'm still unconvinced that this rumor is accurate, but after listening to this person's explanation, I'm more open to the idea of a PS5 Pro coming at launch. Assuming PS5 arrives in 2020, we'll likely know one way or the other by this time next year. Now, this isn't the first time something similar like this happened, though. I'm not saying this is exactly the same or anything like that, but when Nintendo launched the Wii U back in 2012, there were two different versions. I think there was like a 500 megabyte, and I think there was like a 100 megabyte. I'm not 100% sure. I could be wrong on that, but there were two different versions. The only difference was the storage space in both of these versions, though. Putting that aside, though, I'm not 100% sure about this, whether this happening or not. I mean, yes, it is true that people are willing to embrace multiple versions of the same product, though, but bear in mind we waited a couple years had to go by before the PS4 Pro came out and so forth. So I'm not really 100% sure about this. I am worried, though, it could divide the market to a certain degree, but it is possible that people may not be bothered by this at all. So, but right now, it is a rumor. We'll have to wait and see until we hear an official confirmation from Sony and so forth. I mean, I can understand a PS5 Pro maybe happening down the road. I'm just not sure about doing one at launch. I mean, I'm not really sold on the idea. But again, like I said, this is only a rumor at this time. We'll have to wait until the official statement from Sony comes out to make sure to know if this is true or not. It is kind of odd, and like I said, I'm not sure, but we'll have to wait and see. But overall, it's going to be really interesting to see if this turns out to be true and how much of an impact, whether this will have a positive or negative impact when the PS5 is eventually launched. I think most likely 2020 is when the PS5 will probably launch then. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 7, and this one has to do with supposedly Google Stadia might be doing a little bit well, sort of, in a way. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with our 7th part of our My True Set video, and this one has to do with the Google Stadia, or Stadia, if I'm saying the name correctly or anything like that. Now, the Google Stadia, excuse me, has sort of, the response to that has been kind of mixed lately, though, as not everybody has been on board with it. Not everyone likes the idea of the thing. Some people don't like Google in general. Some people want it to fail. I'm not one of those people or anything like that. But I can understand why some people have doubts about it. And I will say Google is going to have hurdles to climb about it, with it, though, that to really convince people to buy the system, buy this idea of streaming your games through, your TV, your phone, your tablet, your laptop, and so forth. Again, I think the concept sounds interesting, and if it's executed properly, it could work. But again, I understand not everyone's on board with it, though. But it seems as though at least the Founders Edition, though, it seems to have, at least according to Google, has sold out, at least in Europe. According to an article from Game Industry Buzz, it reads that Google's Stadia Founders Edition is nearly sold out. Premium bundle is being replaced with similar bundles, saying Buddy Pass with a different controller. The premium pre-order bundle for Google's Stadia, called the Founders Edition, has apparently sold out in Europe and is on the verge of selling out everywhere else as well. Speaking to Game Radar, Google's director of games, Jack Bruiser, said, "I'm super proud to tell you that the Founders Edition for Stadia has sold out in Europe. We'll be removing the Founders Edition from the Google Store page in Europe, in EU countries today, but we're going to replace it with a new bundle that we are calling the Premier Edition. The Founder Edition, which is still available for purchase in Europe, in the US at the time of this piece was published, costs $130 and comes with a 3-month subscription to Stadia Pro, normally $9.99 a month. A second 3-month Buddy Pass to give to your friend, a Chromecast Ultra, and a Night Blue limited edition Stadia controller. It also allows a buyer to secure their username on Stadia ahead of those who did not purchase the bundle. Once Founder Edition is sold out, Boozer, B-U-S-E-R, apologize I'm not saying that name correctly, said it will replace it with a Premier Edition, which is a similar bundle that nonetheless, missing a few key elements. Premier will not include the Buddy Pass or the ability to secure a username, and the controller will ship which will come with the clear white rather than the night blue. The Premier Edition will ship after the Founders Edition does in November, though a specific date for either has not yet been set. Confirmation of the Premier Edition outside the EU has not been given, though the price for the EU was confirmed to be £129, the same amount for the Founders Edition in Europe. Neither pre-purchase is required to use Strata Pro, which will be available for purchase as a standalone subscription service at the unannounced time following the initial November launch of the Stadia's Founders and Premier. The free version Stadia Base is planned for launch in 2020. So if what Google is saying is correct, it seems as though that the Founders Edition seems to be doing very well in Europe, and supposedly, at least this is what they're saying, seems to be doing well here in the US. Do I think do I think Stadia is going to be a success? Still too early to say for certain, though. Same with something like Apple Arcade, which just recently launched with ISO 13 on your iPhone and so forth, with I think the update coming, I think the 24th for Mac, iPads, and I think Apple TV and so forth. Again, it's still a little too early, and we don't know if this is truly going to be a success or not. And there's also the concerns that given Google's history of releasing something and then abandoning it, though, there is still that concern. So we'll have to wait and see how this plays out. It seems Google is happy right now, given how the Stadia, I think, Founders Edition seems to be doing very well. Whether or not that equals to Stadia becoming a success or not, who knows? So we'll have to wait and see on that one. So overall, I'm still on the fence about Google Stadia. There are certainly some things I like that I think it sounds interesting, but I'm taking a wait and see approach on this one before I make any decision on it, though. So we'll have to wait and see on that one, though. And we'll have to wait and see how people feel about the Founders Pack and when they get their hands on it, whether it turns out to be a success or not. So, like I said, I'm taking a wait and see approach. If what Google is saying is true, I mean, great that it's selling very well. Right now, I'm just not in a rush of picking up Stadia at this time. At least not yet. Maybe in the foreseeable future, but not right now at the very moment. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to get to Okay, there we go. We're going to get to part 8, and this one has to do with, well, next year's E3 might be a bit different. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with our eighth and final part of our My Two Cent video for this week. And for this one, we're going to be taking a look at supposedly a report coming out in regards of what E3 2020 could be, though. Now, E3 hasn't sort of been in a great reputation at all that stuff. A lot of people feel that the venue has passed its prime, it's not what it used to be and all that stuff, especially with companies like Nintendo not doing a big press conference and doing their own Nintendo Directs, which has been pretty well for them. Not to mention earlier this year we learned how some information, some YouTubers and all, their information got leaked, and that certainly did not add any great confidence to E3, or to the ESA in general, though. Well, it appears as though there may be an attempt to try to revamp E3 for next year, E3 2020. Whether this is a success or not, whether it proves to be a success, well, that remains to be seen. But in an article from Game Daily, though, they are reporting, though, that supposedly there is a pitch-purpose overhaul with Quentertainment or new floor plan industry-only day. According to the article, it says, quote, "The ESA is trying to rebrand E3 as a fan, media, and influential festival for next year's event. In a pitch deck intended for the lobbying group member, last updated August 16, 2019, the ESA has plans to adapt its offering in response to feedback gathering from publishers. As part of its overhaul, the group purpose leans into influential and paid celebrity deals with talent representation agencies like UTA and CAA. The deck includes 2 examples of these high-profile celebrities activations, including members of the Los Angeles Lakers playing a basketball video game in front of fans, or actors competing in a tournament. These attractions rely on massive change to the E3 show floor. The presentation includes a sample of what the LA Convention Center West Hall might look like, with 8 experience hubs in the middle of a traditional E3 booth. They show an example of it right here. Show like the 2 examples though. Let's see, Convention Center might look like. The presentation includes an example of what with 8 experience managers. ESA members voted to approve the new floor plan. The lobbyist group says it hopes to create a exclusive appointment-only activation for selected attendees who will create buzz and FOMO. ESA, remember, shot down the idea of paying celebrities, though, according to 3 slide labels. Member decision points. Celebrities will be invited through an organized program instead. Industry intended, including media, should be aware that the ESA membership approves an additional 10,000 gamer badges attended, bringing the total number of consumers on the show floor to 25,000. The E3 schedule may be reconfigured with an industry-only day on Tuesday, traditionally the first day of E3 activities at the LA Convention Center, before opening doors wide to ticket members of the general public on Wednesday and Thursday. Even if with the additional 10,000 people, E3 won't come close to the largest industry event around the world. With furious timing, Nikio partner senior analyst David Abraham shared the following attendee status for major conventions this year, and it showed E3 2019 is 66K, while the biggest one, Gamescom, has 373K attendees though. So basically, you can read the article yourself, but basically it's to try to revamp it and all that stuff. And some people are not 100% sold on some of the ideas, especially the whole paid celebrities, or the paid influentials and celebrities though. I'm not sure about this. E3 can be sort of a hit and miss. I mean, there are occasions when E3 can be good in one year, but there are times when E3 is not good at all. And with, like I said earlier, with a lot of companies moving away, I mean, Sony didn't have anything this year. Microsoft kind of did their own thing. Nintendo, of course, did their digital presentation and Treehouse event. It does feel like E3 is just becoming relevant. It's like not becoming as important as it used to, and maybe this revamp might work, but I'm not sure about the idea of paid celebrities, or the idea of celebrities competing in tournaments or like that, all that stuff, unless they are actually gamers themselves, or the idea of paid or athletes playing a sports game and all. So I'm not sure about this, or the influence, all that stuff. It's unclear whether this will work or not. We'll find out next year for certain, but my overall take is I'm not entirely sold on the idea as of right now, but we'll wait and see and how things play out as we get closer to E3 2020, which is going to be months away. So we'll have to wait and see how all this plays out. Okay, this concludes this My 2 Cent video for this week. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about some of the information in regards of the upcoming Fairy Tail game for the PC, PS4, and the Nintendo Switch? Is it a game that you are looking forward to? Is it something you're willing to try out? Do you think they made the right decision to go with an RPG route? Or do you think it would have been better if they went with a warrior-style approach? What are your thoughts about the announcement of Dragon Quest 1, 2, and 3 coming to the Nintendo Switch? Are you okay with it being the port of the mobile version, or do you think it would have been better if they used the original NES version? And and if you are planning to get the game, are you planning to get it digitally when it comes out on September 27th, or are you going to wait for the physical version? In other words, you maybe like import that version, which will have all 3 games in one cartridge and also have an English version as well. What are your thoughts about the rumors of the possibility that Alan Wake could be coming to the Nintendo Switch? Not to mention the remastered version could be coming to the PS4 and Xbox One. Are you interested in this game coming, a remake of this game? Are you looking forward to this remake happening? And if so, are you considering getting the Switch version, or are you considering getting the PS4 and Xbox One version if this rumor turns out to be true? What are your thoughts about Sony now and Insomniac now owning the rights to Sunset Overdrive? Do you think this is a good thing? Do you think Sony's right to not focus on this IP at the moment, or do you think they're missing out on an opportunity to give new life to this IP? And do you think Sony should do a remastered version of Sunset Overdrive? What are your thoughts about the controversy in regards of the Daemon X Machina and the whole YouTube and content ID kind of situation? Do you think some YouTubers are blowing it way out of proportion, or do you think Marvelous Japan maybe went a little too far when they decided to content ID videos in regards of Daemon X Machina, though? What are your thoughts about the possibility of having 2 PS5s at launch, a regular and a Pro? Do you think this is a good idea for Sony to do if this rumor is true, or do you think this is a bad idea? What are your thoughts about Google Stadia, at least the Founders Edition, doing well or selling out, at least in Europe? Do you think this is a sign that Google Stadia might be a success for Google, or do you think it's too early to tell if that's going to really happen, or do you still think this thing is going to fail? And last but not least, what are your thoughts about this revamp that the ESA is doing with E3 2020? Do you think this is the right approach? Do you think more could be done? Or do you think this is just a bad idea altogether? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off in the comment section below of this YouTube video and let me know what you think. And I hope you hit that like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon on this YouTube video for any more videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. Links will be in the description of this video, and I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that will be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day then. Bye!